Hey friends and family, I'm Tina Blunt, Director of the Arise Coaching and Counseling Center. I want to welcome you to the Center's YouTube channel where we will introduce to you amazing content that will provide you with the resources to give you direction for life and allow you to heal from the wounds of life. Today, you'll be hearing from Tony Parker, who is a Dave Ramsey Certified Master Financial Coach. If you feel like you are money stuck and you want to learn how to climb your way to financial freedom, this workshop is the key to getting started. So if you're ready, let's begin.
Okay, well, we're going to get started this morning. Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. If we've not had the privilege of a personal introduction, my name is Tina Blunt. I have the privilege of serving as the director of the Coaching and Counseling Center, of which this workshop is being presented to you. We here at the center are all about freedom. We want you to walk in freedom in every area of your life, and that includes financial freedom. And that's why today we are presenting to you Climbing the Ladder to Financial Freedom. It's going to be presented to you by Tony Parker, who is a certified Ramsey financial coach. And so, Tony, without further ado, I will turn it over to you.
Well, hello, everybody. Thank you guys for being here and welcome. I'm really excited to talk to you guys today about the finances, and I hope you guys find a lot of value in this. But I want to start with just thanking Pastor Tina. She's going to run my slides today, but also just for her support for us as coaches and counselors in the Arise Coaching and Counseling. She really is quite amazing.
Thank
for
you,
you guys,
Tony.
you're very welcome. For you guys that don't know me, like she said, I'm Tony Parker. I'm a certified Ramsey financial coach. And if you don't know who Dave Ramsey is, just Google, you'll figure it out quite quickly. He is a financial guru, but he's a little uncommon in his approaches, whereas he does not, he looks at a biblical point of view of money. And that's why I started following him. So more than being a coach, though, I followed his teachings, right? I do these things that we talk about. My wife and I are just a few $1,000s of being out of debt. That was almost 80 something thousand dollars ago. So this is not just something that I teach, it's something that I do too. So we're going to talk today about getting out of debt and then what to do if you're stuck, right? If you're just living paycheck to paycheck and you don't really know how to move forward. So I'm going to give you some tips on how to move forward. I want to start with two scriptures. The first scripture is Psalm 24:1. It says, "The earth is the Lord's and all its fullness, the world and all those who dwell with it." And then Psalm 50:10 says, "For all the animals of the forest are mine, on the cattle on 1,000 hills." And Larry Burkett, he's not with us anymore. He is a financial guru from years gone. If you were to, I listened to Dave Ramsey would have listened to Larry Burkett. But he would say God owns the cattle on 1,000 hills and he owns the hills too, right? So God owns it all. What we know is that God is in control of everything. He owns our finances. He owns our time. He owns us. He owns our children, right? We are stewards of these things for him. So I just kind of want to start by telling you a little story. I was at a Lowe's one day and I was at the clearance section. I don't know about you guys, but I like to go to the clearance sections of the stores. I'm always thinking, I'm going to find that once in a lifetime deal, like a $2 drill or, a $1, I don't know, Yeti cup or something like that. I never really find those deals, but I'm always, so I don't always buy things. Every once in a while, there may be something that I can't live without, but usually I just like to look. But this particular day, I was looking at the clearance section for appliances, and I'm watching this lady and she has a toddler in her cart and she just looked so stressed out, so distraught. And she's pacing up and down the aisle and she's looking at refrigerators. And then I overhear her talking to the salesman and she's talking to him about refrigerators. And she says, the refrigerator at my house went out and I need to replace it. But the ones you have here are just too expensive. I can't afford these. She was asking, do you have any of these scratch and dents? Do you have any that were maybe brought back or out of the box or anything like that? And he's pretty adamant that he doesn't have those things, And she was just really stressed. She stated she had food that was going to go bad and that if she didn't get a refrigerator today, then she was going to have to throw all the food away. So, I wonder, have you guys ever felt that kind of stress over money, over finances, right? Maybe it was just a flat tire, right, in your car, but you couldn't afford to replace it, or an alternator, you couldn't afford to replace it. So you find yourself now with a work problem. Started with a money problem, now you have a car problem, and then you have a work problem, right? Because you can't get to work. And then that stress is going to cause arguments. So now you have a marriage problem. And it just goes on and on and on. So money touches every aspect of our lives. And it just so happens that you guys aren't alone. If you look at this slide, it says 66% of Americans could not cover a $1,000 emergency. And that's a lot, right? And 78% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. That's almost 8 out of 10. So if you think 8 out of 10 of your coworkers, right, your friends, 8 out of 10 of the people that go to church, how about 8 out of 10 of your family are living paycheck to paycheck? And maybe you're one. I know I was. I lived paycheck to paycheck for a long time. So back to the woman at Lowe's. So she's pleading with this guy, and I hear God say to me very plainly, "Why don't you buy her one?" But I didn't have any money. I don't know why he was telling me that. He knows I don't have money. It hurt me because he was asking me to do something with his finances, and I couldn't do it, right? So why don't you buy her one? So what I discovered when I started thinking about this was that I had signed my money over to other things, so I couldn't use it for God's purposes. I'd signed it over for credit cards, I'd signed it over for car loans, I'd signed it over to whatever, you name it, student loans, you name it. I had signed my money over. Well, to say it better, I'd signed God's money over to other things, right? Because we know it's all his. He owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, right? So I had signed God's money over to other masters. So that started me on this journey to financial freedom. And today we're going to talk about debt and strategies to get out of debt. I don't know to this day whether the lady ever got a refrigerator. I'm sure she did at some point, but I don't know what happened. I wasn't able to be part of her story anymore. So first, let's get the debt definition of debt. Debt is simply any money that is owed, right? So if you owe money to, let's say cell phones, right? We get our cell phones now and we pay them monthly, but it's no interest, however, but it's still debt because you owe that money. If you owe money to family or friends, we still owe all that money. So the question I have here is why would you want to get out of debt? And this is a part where you can see this slide is blank. It's because I want you to answer. Why would you want to get out of debt? Anybody? Anybody? I'll call on someone if you don't answer.
Many of you are on mute at the moment. And so if you are on mute, feel free to go ahead and take yourself off mute. And that way we can hear you.
Debt is liberating.
Being out of,
Being debt-free is liberating.
there you go. Okay. Yes, I agree with that. How about anybody else? Why would you want to be out of debt?
I was gonna say just for stress relief. Debt is like carrying backpack with bricks in it, and I'm just ready to give up that backpack. It's just too heavy. It's
Oh,
just
wow.
not meant to be carried.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
I want to share that I almost canceled this call because I was like, well, I only have one debt, which is my car. But when you said cell phone, I went, oh, yeah, that is a debt. So
Yeah.
yeah, to understand what debt really is, because in my mind is something different than what you're sharing. So to learn more and to be free.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Thank you. I'm glad you didn't cancel.
Me too.
All right. So for me, I just asked myself a very simple question is what could God do through me with his money? Right? So what can God do through you with his money if it's not signed over to other masters? Because we know the borrower is slave to the lender, right? And we also know that Jesus tells us that no one can serve two masters because he'll despise one and love the other, right? So what can God do through me with his money? And that, just kind of take a minute to think about that. You know, what could you do if you were debt free? Where could you go? Who would you help? Who could you help? I know for me, my wife and I want to go on a cruise. You know, I've never been on a cruise. I would love to go on a cruise. And I would love to leave an inheritance for my children's children, you know, my grandchildren. But I would also love to be able to help people. Could you imagine going to a Waffle House on a Thursday? Sorry, I can't get the word out. Going to a Waffle House on Thanksgiving and pulling up and going in and having a cup of coffee. You know, and Waffle House has those big giant windows, so you can pull up right in the front, go in and have a cup of coffee and leave a $400 tip, and then come out and watch like a movie. You know, what's going on inside that Waffle House is that lady who's working hard just to get by, right? And you just left a $400 tip for her. That changes everything for her. That changes her month, right? But you would be able to do that because you could work, God could work through you. So there's a few different types of debt that we're going to talk about. And I'm going to start with credit card debt. The average right now is over 20%. Now, this is really kind of telling because the average just a year ago or a little over a year ago was 16.7%. So we can see that although inflation is hitting different areas, the credit card company doesn't seem to care. They're still raising these rates up quite a bit. And the average American has about $16,425 in credit card debt. I want to read a statement from the American Banker, and they're talking about Capital One credit card, and they're talking about the year 2021. So this statement came out in early January of 2022. They're talking about 2021, and it says marketing cost at the McLean, Virginia lender, that's the Capital One place, jumped to nearly $1 billion in the fourth quarter. So that's just the last quarter of the year. Their marketing costs went to $1 billion, up from $751 million in the prior quarter, largely due to the credit and related spending. A $432 billion asset company will continue to lean into marketing as long as doing so is productive. So they market to you and with so much money, they put so much power into it. They're them and Visa and all the other ones, they are marketing to you nonstop. So we have to not fall for their traps. They're doing what they get paid to do. It's their job, but that doesn't mean that we have to do it, right? So next, I want to talk about the student loans. This is a hot topic right now. The average American has $50,868 in student loan. The average payoff is 21 years, which is kind of strange because it's set up that they would pay off in 10 years, but they're not getting paid off in 10 years, right? So the average payoff is 21 years. That's almost as long as a house. So in some cases, it's more than a house, right? You could do a 15-year mortgage and be out of debt over your home quicker than you would be out of debt with your student loans. So I guess the question I get a lot is the government going to discharge 10,000 or 20,000 or somewhere in between? I really don't know the answer to that. If I had to guess, I would say no. I don't think they can. It takes an act of Congress to do that. I think this is a political ploy to get you to vote in that direction. But I can tell you that a lot of people are sitting around and waiting for this, and they're not doing anything. So for the past 2 years, we've had a freeze on the interest rate of student loans, but only 1.2% of Americans actually took advantage of that and is paid on their student loans, which is pretty telling, right? So now we're going to move on to car loans. I want to talk about car loans. The average car payment now is $648 a month. Is anybody paying that much on a car?
No, I'm not.
No, how much are you paying?
$250.03.
Way to go.
Yeah, right. It was right before COVID, literally in February. COVID started in March. My husband and I went for the car in February. Now you can't get a car,
Wow.
but yeah.
50.
It's 250.
Yeah, it's
But
funny
still.
the car issues they have. My brother just bought a new Chevy truck. He doesn't listen to my teaching, so he just bought a new Chevy truck, and he was on a wait list forever because they couldn't get chips. So they finally gave him the truck and said, when we get the chips, just bring it back and we'll make everything work. So, so he's got like half a truck.
Wow.
So anyway, average car payment, 648. When I started doing this, the average car payment was, I think, $325 or $355 a month. So you can see it's increased. The average term of a car loan has went from 5 years to 6 years. So besides this payment going up to 648, they've increased the term. So, I mean, if we were to make this a 5-year loan, it would be in the 700s. So that's a lot. And it, just for you guys who buy brand new cars, they go down 40% in their value in the first 5 years. So if you're looking to get a car, you want to buy a good 2 to 3 year old car, right? That way you're not upside down in the car as soon as you drive it off the lot. Dave would say, if you hear that, when you hear that noise, boom, boom, when you drive off the lot, that's your car value going down. And then, you don't want to forget about things like the IRS, right? 401k loans, appliances, furniture, any family loans. How about pets, tattoos? It's a funny story. I was driving down the road. It was actually out here on 60, not far from the church. And was driving down the road and they had a sign out in front of a tattoo parlor that financed tattoos. And I'm like, man, somebody's going to fall for that. And then one time I was listening to the radio and they were financing an office chair, and the deal to get you to sign up was if you finance this office chair, they would give you the wheels for the office chair for free.
Oh, goodness.
It's ridiculous. So with that being said, normal is broke. We're probably the most marketed to population in the history of mankind. And we can look at these numbers and we can see not only are we the most marketed to, but it's working, right? The debt companies are getting rich. And if you don't believe me, go outside, stand in front of your house and look up, and then go downtown and stand in front of their building and look up, and you can see which one's taller, right? You can see who has the more money. So once I figured out that normal was broke, I didn't want to be normal anymore, right? I wanted to stop paying attention to what the Joneses were doing, and I wanted to start paying more attention to what the Parkers were doing, right? So I got about the business of leaving a legacy and just helping to improve my family tree. So I want to give you guys the steps now to get out of debt. I want to read Proverbs 6:1-7 says, if you sign surety, which is debt, my son, do this, right? So God says, do this. He says, give no sleep to your eyelids, no slumber to your eyes, and deliver yourself like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter, a bird from the hand of the fowler. So the first step here is to simply stop borrowing money, right? You cannot dig out the bottom of a hole. You have to stop. You've got to cut the bleeding. So you're going to get on a written plan, otherwise known as a budget. And if you don't like the word budget, call it a plan, call it, a spending plan, call it whatever you want to call it, but it's a budget. And if you don't know exactly how to make a budget, I'd be happy to help you guys with it. But also Tina did an amazing workshop that you can find at myarisecoach.com, and then resources. There's a budget workshop there that she did. And I think they can still get to the spreadsheet there that you left too. Is that correct, Tina?
They can.
But a good budget it's going to give you breathing room, right? So budgets are not constricting. They are freeing, really. It tells your money where to go instead of looking around saying, oh, where did my money go? Where did it go? Where it went? So it'll bring peace to a very stressful situation. So like I said earlier, Shelley and I are just a few $1,000s away from being completely debt free, except for our house. That's our next step. And that plan, that is on target for 2 years from now. We couldn't have done it without a budget. We couldn't have done it without a plan. It allowed us to be on the same page, but it also allowed us to build a future, to make a plan. So I suggest making a plan, doing a budget. It's probably one of the most important steps to this. Without a budget, you're just going to live paycheck to paycheck. With the budget, it's going to help you to move out. Doing a budget, this is where you're going to tell yourself, I've had it, right? I've had enough. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not playing this game anymore. I'm not following this culture anymore. I've had it, and we're moving forward. So the next step would be to have a small emergency fund, right? So I would recommend, depending on your income, And depending on what you have the possibility for emergencies for, I would recommend anywhere from $500 to $3,000. And this emergency fund is going to be for emergencies. So I don't know if you guys know this, but Christmas is in December. It's pretty much been that way for as long as I can remember. So this would not be considered an emergency, right? But so many times, and I know in the past, I was really bad about, especially Christmas. When my kids were young, I would do all my Christmas shopping on Christmas Eve. And I'm waiting for that last check so that I can go to do the Christmas shopping, right? So it was emergency mentality, but it's not an emergency. So you want to define emergencies in your life. That will be things like a flat tire, like we talked about earlier. Maybe the air conditioner goes out, or alternator goes out in your car. Maybe you cut yourself by accident and you have to go to the emergency room. So these are emergencies. This is what we're talking about. And this small emergency fund is just going to help you to get through to the next step, which is actually paying off debt. But because we're going to stop borrowing money, we need to have this emergency fund there so that we don't go back into debt if something happens, right? So we're not putting it on the credit card anymore, or we're not borrowing from family members to get a new tire or whatever. We just have this little pile of cash over there, just Murphy repellent. All right, so next, like I said, is paying off debt. And paying off debt, we're going to do what's called the debt snowball, right? So the debt snowball lists debt smallest to largest, and we're going to make the minimum payments on all except the smallest debt. We're going to pay as much as we possibly can on the smallest debt until that debt's paid off, and then we're going to roll that payment into the next payment until we're done. It's like rinse and repeat, right? Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Everybody on here is women, so you guys know what I'm talking about. Rinse and repeat. I don't rinse and repeat. I just rinse. So we're going to do I think I've lost myself somewhere.
You ready to take a look at the simulation, Tony?
I think so. I think maybe I may have printed one page twice and it's really kind of throwing me off. All right, so debt smallest to largest, pay off the minimum. So the reason they're paying off the minimum first instead of the largest interest rate, right? Because mathematically you might say the largest interest rate should go first, but we need those little wins, you know. I was listening to Proverbs. If you guys don't listen to Proverbs or don't read Proverbs, you really should. There's a lot of wisdom, right? There's a lot of financial wisdom in Proverbs. You just have to pay attention to those old time words and put them into new time, like surety is debt and folly is stupid, you know, those kind of things. And it's anyway, so the reason for paying off the first debt, the smallest debt, is because we need wins. So we need those little wins to move us forward. Without them, you would lose patience in it, right? If you go to the gym for a week and you don't lose any weight at all and you end up gaining weight, you're not going to go back, you know, or chances are you're not going to go back. So I want to tell you guys another little story, right? So we lived in East Tennessee, outside of Knoxville. And if you've never lived in East Tennessee, then you probably don't know about this, but we did not have garbage pickup at all. It was the weirdest thing when we moved up there. We moved from Naples, Florida, where they come to your house, they pick up your garbage, nice green cans, big trucks, you know, just kind of like here. But we moved up there and they don't pick up garbage at all. So they have these 4 or 5 stations that around the counties that you would go to, and they're all open at different times. So if you need to go to take some garbage out, let's just say it's smelling or whatever, you have to figure out which station is closest to you that's actually open so that you can take your garbage, right? So of course there's guys that have little small businesses. It's just some guy in a pickup truck, right? And he'll come around and pick up your trash for you and whoever else. And they charge like $50 a month. Now this was back years ago, back before I was walking with Christ, back when I don't know how many people know my story, but back when I was still drinking a lot, back when I was just not a very good Christian at all. So we had signed up to have this gentleman come and and pick up our garbage, and it was $50, and I never paid him. We ended up moving to Florida, and they had sent this little card in the mail, you know, this you owe me $50 kind of thing, kind of card. Please pay with, you know, immediately, send to this address, yada, yada, yada. And I'd thrown it in a box when we moved, and I never really did anything with it. So fast forward now several years, and I'm not drinking anymore. I'm walking with Christ. I'm following these money principles, and we're going to get out of debt. And I had the opportunity to pay this $50 bill. Now, this was a very small company, very, very small operation, right? It's a guy in a pickup truck. Probably his wife is doing his billing for him. But they had done a job for me, and I owed them money. There's no way he could have ever afforded to go after me for $50, right? From some sort of credit recovery agency, anything like that. It's not reported to a credit bureau. But I found that card, and I mailed the guy $50. I'm sure they were not expecting that money. I'm sure they had written this off. This had been several years, but this, just paying that $50 was a proof to me that I was going to move forward with this,
Wow.
that I was doing this, right? So list your debt smallest. That $50 was my first win. It was a simple win, but it was a win. And after that point, I couldn't wait to get paid. Shelly and I would come home, and we would sit around the computer and what can we pay now? What can we pay now? We very quickly went through some medical, and went through a lot of student loan. We're finishing up the very last bit of student loan right now. So let's talk about how you get out of debt. Let's talk about the debt snowball. Hopefully this is going to work, Tina. Cross my fingers. So let's go to the spreadsheet, and what we're going to do is we're going to do some demonstrations. Are you doing the spreadsheet, or am I?
I'm going to try. We'll see how it goes. For those of you on this call who are praying people, we're switching from one technology to the other. And so bear with us while we do that. And bear with me. And that did not work. Tony, can you try to take that piece of it?
I can try. Let's see what happens.
We even practiced it, y'all.
Do we see this spreadsheet?
There it is.
Well done.
So I'm going to blank this out real quick, because apparently I was practicing, right? So this spreadsheet will go out to, I believe, 16 debts, right? I don't know how many debts people have, but yep, 16. And you can see it goes from smallest debt this way to the largest debt over here. So we're going to use these real life examples. We're just going to do, like I said, we're going to list them smallest to largest. So we're going to start with a $500 medical bill, where minimum payment will be $50. Now with this particular spreadsheet, you can add in the interest rate and it'll figure it out. But for our demonstration today, I'm not gonna bother with that. Okay. And then I'm going to put in a credit card loan of $2,500, and the payment for that is $63. And you can see what it's doing is it's populating your payoff. So here we have the 50, 50, 50, 50, 63, 63. And then once you finish paying off this $50 debt, then it rolls that $50 into the next debt, which is now $113 payment. Now we're going to put in a $7,000 car loan with a payment of $135 a month. I don't know where they got their car. And then we're going to put in our student loan, $10,000, right, with a payment of $96. Oops. So if we scroll down now, we can see that our payoff for all of our debt, if this is all we had, is 59 months after we start. It's a long time, right?
5 years.
Yeah, 5 years, but we're gonna make some changes, right? So how do we get back to you, Tina? We'll come back to the spreadsheet in a little bit. Does everybody understand the spreadsheet, the way it works?
I think it's awesome. Do you think, will we have access to the spreadsheet?
Yeah, we can send it out.
That's awesome.
Does anybody have any questions on the debt snowball and how the debt snowball works?
I have a question with the debt snowball. I think I've never seen this. I think this is really great. I wish I had this years ago.
That's what
Does, I was able to get out of debt on my own, my husband and I, but it's a different lifestyle now. So we're just much more calmer and more focused. So my question is, with the debt snowball, is there also a process of, while you're paying down your debt, you're also saving money besides the 401k and all of that? Is there something that you can build on your emergency fund while you're paying down your debt?
Sure. That would probably be best as part of your budget. You'll do a line item in your budget.
Okay,
And you can go back and watch that workshop that Tina did on budgeting. I think that was our first financial one. Is that right, Tina?
okay.
It really was. And we actually recommend multiple accounts set up. That way you can focus on your various goals. So you might have a savings account that is for just emergency fund. That's all it is. There is a portion of your paycheck that either automatically or you put it in. Automatic is the new discipline, right? So you take it and you put it over there. Then you might have one for your dreams. So maybe you're saving for that cruise or something else you're interested in. You send another portion of it over there towards your savings or new furniture or just your
Right.
future. And then you keep everything else over here in this other bucket, if you will, for your day-to-day expenses, as well as your debt payoff.
Thank you.
Good question.
Yes, and I would also bring up this about the emergency fund. It needs to be accessible. If you have your emergency fund in some vehicle that you can't get to easily, then you're gonna end up going in debt because you can't get your
Right.
emergency fund. There's
Mhm.
other accounts are great. I actually have mine that's in cash in a safe. Nobody knows where I live though, so it's fine. And I've heard of people that would take their small emergency fund and like put it in a picture frame and put a little like fire extinguisher hammer on it and a label that says in case of emergency, break glass or something like that, right? So get creative, but always make sure it's accessible so that just in case you can get to it, but you also don't want it so accessible that the pizza guy shows up and, oh no, there's an emergency because I don't have the money for pizza, right? So. All right, so now that the debt snowball is complete, we can see the payoff date and it's pretty daunting, right? When you look at it, you're talking 5 years. Wow. So this was supposed to be about getting unstuck and yet here we are stuck for the next 5 years. Well, so let's talk about that. So when loggers used to run logs down the river, what they would do is they would cut the trees down. They would take the branches off and clean the logs, and then they would put the logs in the river and they would float down river to the next destination, right? Where they would take them and move them to wherever they needed to move them. What would happen in the bends of the river is the logs would get stuck. It would create a log jam. I'm sure we've all heard of log jams, right? So they would take dynamite and they would throw it in the log jam. And it would break the logs up and then they would continue to go down river. So that's what we need to do to get moving, right? If we're done our budget and all we can make is minimum payments, or if we need to do quicker, we want to get out of debt quicker than 5.7 years or whatever that was on that spreadsheet, then we need to do something to dynamite our log jam, right? So here's some ways that you can do that. You can do a side hustle. Tina, the amazing Tina, once again, did a workshop on side hustle that you can find at myarisecoach.com/resources. Go in there and see that about side hustles. I think you had like 20 something separate side hustles, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, 53.
Oh, 53. Well,
53.
excuse me.
Times 2, 20 times 2 or
Times
3.
two, yeah, that's good. All right, so you can go watch that. Have a yard sale. The average yard sale, according to the New York Times, will make between $500 and $1,000, right? So I know for us, Shelly and I actually, we sacrificed everything. We downsized our home. We were renting for several years, but we downsized and moved into a tiny house and sold everything. And I think we made somewhere like $2,500 or something like that. Now we were selling stuff quickly because I definitely didn't want to move it into a tiny house, but you can definitely do something like that. Sell something that you have sitting around, right? If you're tired of walking over something, just go ahead and sell it. You can check your subscription services. This would be like Hulu, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime. I mean, if you have a subscription service that you're not really using or that you can live without, just cut it so that you can have that extra money. Cut your cable. Cable is expensive. The average is $2,604 a year or $217 a month. So $217 extra a month will help you. Buy generic. Publix has some excellent store brands. We shop at Sam's Club and their store brands are really, really good. Really good. I'm surprised they weren't always that way, but they are now. So cut utilities and cell phones. So maybe look at your plans, turn off the lights, lower the AC or raise the AC, lower the rate. It's raise the AC, right? Yeah, raise the AC. Just LED bulbs, things like that. See what you can do to cut your utilities. This one's probably the hardest when it comes to like electric and water. But some small increments can make some big changes. The cell phone would be look at your plans, see if it's something you can change. Maybe you don't need to be on a all-inclusive plan. Unsubscribe from sales emails. This is this was a big one for me. This was something that I did and it's made a huge difference. So I love Amazon and I love gadgets, right? Anybody that knows me knows that I love the newest gadgets. So Amazon found that out and they will send me emails and they will say that this new product that they've created, you can get by invitation only, right? So it's just a sucker's way to get me to buy these things, and it worked. I have Alexa glasses that I can't wear because I can't get lenses in them, you know. And I had the Echo Auto. It's a little thing for your car that you put in your car, but they sent it to me by invitation only, and I could get it for half price, which was $50. Well, they sell it now for $19.99. So their invitation only was probably not a very good deal. Go ahead and check your pay stub. This is a big place to find money because you may be spending too much money on things on your pay stub, like cancer insurance, things like that. There's things that you can cut, but also if you're getting a large tax return at the end of the year, it's probably because you're paying too much in taxes on a weekly or biweekly, however you get paid, you're paying too much in taxes. So instead of loaning that money to the government all year for them to give back to you with no interest, just take it now. So let's just say you had $1,200 tax return, that's $100 a month. Now $100 a month isn't a lot, but it's something. And it's a mentality change. This is the one I think that a lot of people I talk with struggle with the most because they like that large windfall of cash at the end of the year. But I'm telling you, it's not a lottery. It's your money already. And there's no reason to struggle a full year just so you can get some money back at the end of the year. So we did the emails. So here's some other ways you can pack a lunch, right? Stop eating out. The argument I get with this one is, yeah, but you know, the dollar menu, I eat off the dollar menu. It's a mentality shift, right? You're going to change your behavior. This is a way of telling yourself that you're in this for the long haul and that you're going to succeed at this, right? Make coffee at home. There is no argument against this one. Coffee at the coffee place is definitely more expensive than coffee at home. Do an insurance checkup. Make sure you're getting the best deals you can possibly get on your insurance. Call your insurance agent. Tell them you're going to find another one. We just lowered our car insurance a substantial amount just by switching from Geico to Liberty Mutual, and paid 6 months at a time instead of monthly. So I think we dropped it almost $125 a month or something like that. It's really, really good. Take on a part-time job. The average pizza deliverer makes $1,500 a month. So, I mean, there's definitely part-time jobs that you can do. Donate plasma. Make sure you talk with your physician. You know, I don't want anybody going out there getting sick, but they say you can make $800 to $1,000 a month. I was actually looking into this and may do that just to make extra money. Plus, it helps people. People need plasma, so it's not just a win for you. It's a win for others as well. You can mow lawns. Here it is. Deliver pizzas again. That was the part-time job. So these are the kind of things that you need that'll pick up momentum, right? So let's go back. Tina, I'm going to take over again.
Sure.
Let's go back to our, how do I take over again? Oh, okay. So let's go back to our spreadsheet, okay? And let's just say that we had a yard sale and we had a one-time payment and we were somewhere in between the average of 500 and 1,000, and let's say we made 750. And then we took on a part-time job and we made, let's see, I mean, average pizza delivery is 1,500 a month. Let's just say we brought in an extra 500 a month. So now let's look at where this lines up. So we were at, oh, going the wrong direction. Sorry about that. We were at almost 5 years and we just cut this down to less than 2 years, right? We're at 23 months now. So small changes, doing one or two things can really, really make a huge difference. And this is what we talk about, dynamite, right, in your log jam. So I know all of this is like really overwhelming. When you look at your debt, you know, it's could be more than the, you know, few 10, 20,000 that's on this screen. But I can tell you that you can do this. It is attainable, right? You just need to submit to a plan, and the plan is always probably the most important step, the budget. So if you have a plan, then you can move forward. You know, Jesus tells us who would build a tower without first having a plan, or you get halfway up and couldn't finish and he looks like a fool, right? And we don't want to do that. Tina, you can take back over, I think. Is that something you have to do or do I do?
Yes, I'm doing it.
Okay, cool. So my last scripture I want to give you guys, and then we're going to open it up for questions, is no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. But later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace. And that peace is what we're all after, right? For those that have been trained by it. And that's Hebrews 12:11. And it goes on to talk about hard work there, right? Is how we're going to get that hard work. And then I think the next one is, look at the ant. He works hard all day, but he stores up for the future, things like that. So that is all I have. That's the end of my notes.
That's so good, Tony. Thank you so much for that. You know, last night I watched a documentary of 4 individuals. It's a documentary on Netflix called Get Smart with Money. And it followed 4 individuals from all different walks of life who are working to get smart with money. Each one was in a different place. There was a single woman who was working 2 jobs, but not living her dreams, and how she worked towards it. There was a young mom who had a real shopping issue. I mean, she had a very hard time stopping shopping. And so there was a coach that worked specifically with her. There was a very young NFL football player who got injured and found very quickly that money did not go as far as he thought it could. And then there was a couple who just made a decision that they want to retire early. They want to retire way early. And so it followed 4 individuals. And yes, there were learning techniques that they went through, but what made the difference in each one of their stories is that each one had a coach. Each one had a financial coach to help them specifically identify what their need was and to work with them. And this coach worked with each one of them for the next year. So before Tony gets into Q&A, which he'll do in just a moment, we want to make you aware that Tony is available for coaching. Now, typically Tony works in individual sessions, and he is $75 an hour through our coaching and counseling center. But we have put a cost-saving package together for anyone who's interested in taking the next step with Tony. And so this is a limited time package. It's limited to the next 48 hours. And so by Monday at noon, this package expires. Coaching is still available. Tony is still available, but this package expires. What this includes is a free 15-minute consultation. Maybe you're wondering, do I need a coach or do I not need a coach? Like, I've got a good handle on this, but maybe I've got some questions. Would that benefit me? So Tony offers a free 15-minute consultation where you can explore those together. Maybe you only need 1 or 2 sessions. Maybe you need some budgeting work. But in this particular package, it's a free consultation. It's a financial review where you will bring him the good, the bad, and the ugly. And together, the two of you or yourself and your spouse and Tony will review your financial snapshot. What does it look like? In the budgeting process, I call this the tears, tissues, and tantrums stage, right? This is the part that's not very fun, and yet it's where we need to begin. Second session in this is a dream and goal planning. What are you dreaming about? What is your goal? Is it to be debt-free? Is it to save for a vacation? Is it to save for retirement? What's your goal? What's your dream? And then the third component in the third session is the creation of a financial plan to help you walk out those goals. Certainly you can pick up individual sessions out of that for accountability. And so if that's something you're interested in and you want to learn more about the Coaching and Counseling Center, you can just go to myarisecoach.com. If you'd like to schedule that 15-minute consultation with no commitment of any kind, that doesn't commit you to anything other than a 15-minute consultation with Tony, you can click the Get Started tab in the right-hand corner. So that's the package. Those are some next steps that we have available to you. I'd love to open it up now for questions on the package, on anything Tony presented, on anything related to money that might be on your heart today. We'd love to hear your questions and or your comments about today's presentation.
Well, I'm from New York, so I visited Arise. My sister goes to Arise, and I loved it. And so I am so glad I joined this call. And, you know, I've been on this journey a little bit. I just became a widow, so it's a little difficult.
We're so sorry to hear that.
Yes.
And I prayed and I said, Lord, show me what to do. So a lot of the things that you shared, you know, it's top in front of mind of what I'm doing. But what I want to say, this was really good. And it just gave me some additional ideas to think about as I move forward.
You're good.
Yeah, can I just give you permission to just do nothing, to just grieve for a little while and to not make any major decisions at this point?
Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Let me just get my composure. You know, as a believer for so many years, I've always believed in the tithing and giving God what belongs to him. But I did get caught in financial struggles. Student loan was one of my big ones. And in 2018, I was able to just get rid of it. But I think I'm at a point where I want to do a budget for my dream.
Yeah.
I need to do a budget moving forward. And I need to really think about, what does that mean? I mean, you know, I just cut my cable literally last week. I just cut it. I had been downsizing the cable. Finally, I said, no more. And I saw what you were talking about, Netflix, but I fell asleep when I was watching about the Smart on Money. But, and I've heard so much about these workshops and about you, Tina, Pastor Tina. So I says, I really want to get on board and I want to see, I am facing layoffs in the next 2 weeks. So then I need to like stay still and see where I'm going to go for there. For that snowball calculator, I wish I would have had that years ago.
No, I
But
know.
I'm glad that it's available now and I can use this. I really want to thank you for this. Sorry, I didn't mean to break down.
No, it's okay. Thank you so much. And I'm so sorry to hear about your husband. And I do want to speak to the dream part of this. When you dream, Chris Hogan would say dream in HD, right? Dream in high definition. So don't just dream of a future where I go on a cruise, right? When I dream of me going on a cruise, I'm going with my wife. We're going to this destination. We're going to be in this type of room. We're going to go snorkeling or whatever it is, right? We're going to go see the pyramids in Mexico or whatever it may be, right? So I'm dreaming in high definition. I want to put detail to it.
Right.
That way it's more tangible, right? And you'll want to be there even more. If it's just a
Right.
cruise, everybody wants to go on a cruise, right?
Right. I am dreaming of retirement and leaving New York and purchasing a home. That's what I'm dreaming.
Yeah.
I don't know how to get there. I have an idea. I'm working on it, but I think I like this idea of how do we do this a little bit more faster.
Cool. Awesome.
Sorry
Thank
about
you.
that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm glad you're here today.
Thank you. Me too.
Yeah, we're so glad you're here. Thank you so much for sharing your heart with us. And know this, we have resources for all of the things that you might be navigating. Financial coaching, we have a grief counselor, I'm a job coach. We have resources to help you. And so that's the beauty of this, is that you don't have to walk this out alone. You really don't have to walk it alone. So just know that we might be apart in distance, but the kingdom is not apart, and we're only a
Amen.
phone call away.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Any other comments or questions?
I just want to say thank you, Pastor Tina and Tony. This was great. I can't say I really learned anything new, but it's always great to have reminders. I've never used a budget in my life. I don't know, for some reason, money and saving always came naturally to me, and I've been retired 14 years already. I know what it feels like to be financially free. I thank God every day. I love what Tony said about being able to help people, because, and especially, right, you can have the resources, but you need to have the heart after God also, because we can have the resources, but if we don't have a heart after God that wants to be obedient and give, like when God said to get the refrigerator, then it doesn't serve people or God, right? So the beautiful thing is, like he was saying about the emergency fund, I'm retired, I have a pension, I have a built-in COLA, and every month I save. I have investments, but my emergency fund is for blessing people. That's what I save that for, right? Because in our culture, we just say get, but I feel like we don't stress giving enough. And so I know that no investment company, Vanguard, which I have, is not going to say, they're going to say, just keep putting money in. But I make sure that I have my money market account, because that I can give. They don't get to tell me what to do with that. That I get to bless people. And it's the most, I love to give. So for me, it's the most amazing thing in the world when a need arises and I can help. When I retired, I remember everybody saying, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And I never really had plans on what I'm going to do. And then one day I was turning in my gear, and someone said, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to find a need and fill it, because I never really liked my job. And I say, God, if you get me out of here, every day of my life, I will serve you. I will serve your people. And I thank God for 14 years, I've been able to do the things that Tony's saying that God called us to do, right? We don't get the money to do what we want. We get it. We are blessed to be a blessing. And I'm grateful to hear this, because what he's saying is not what our culture says. It's total counterculture, right? That
Right.
we get all we can all we get, and sit on the can when so many people are hurting. So I'm just thankful for you guys. It's great to know that, yes, this is what we're supposed to be doing.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for that. Tony, we have a message that has come in. Let's see if I can understand what they're saying here. If I'm reading it correctly, the question is, my budget is currently upside down. If I'm reading that correctly, the person has more expenses than they do income coming in. They're doing the dynamite logjam, they're doing the side hustles, but all that seems to do is just make them squeak by every single, so that they can't get ahead. Do you have any recommendations for the person who feels like, I'm doing everything you're saying, I still can't seem to get ahead?
Without knowing what's going on and without seeing the snapshot, so to speak, I could try to speak to it in general, but with more detail, I could probably do a lot better. But I would look at my paycheck. There's usually money in a paycheck. I can usually, for the most part, and this is not always, but normally when I coach someone or I help someone, I can usually find a few $100s in their paycheck. just depending on where they're at. So, I mean, I think I would start there probably,
Okay.
and then look at your side hustles. If you're spending your time and you're making very little, maybe there's a different side hustle, some different dynamite, right? That's going to be more powerful and more productive. So let's just say you're doing Uber, for instance, and it's costing you a lot and it's taking a lot of your time and you're not getting a huge return. Maybe find something different that's going to give you a better return, maybe take less time. Buy a leaf blower, right? And go blow leaves or whatever, or clean a house. I mean, people were making $200 to $250 a house to clean a house. It's amazing to me what the service industry makes or can make. Like just get creative and really go through that budget. That budget is so important because it's going to show you where you need to cut. So if you're spending a lot of money in food and going out, then we're going to need to reduce that. Maybe you don't go outside or to go out to eat. Dave would say you don't go to a restaurant unless you're working there, right? Or maybe you cut back on your food. Make it a contest. If you need to cut back on your food, make it a contest and say, okay, we're going to see if we can do this for under $500 this month, and then the next month we're going to see if we can do this for under 400. There's a lot of things you can do, but without knowing the details, I couldn't give very specific advice.
So that would be a good example of someone who would want to schedule a coaching appointment with you.
Most definitely.
Wonderful. Well, any final questions?
I guess I have one. First of all, I want to thank you, Tina and Tony, for holding this workshop. I've been through Financial Peace. I've facilitated Financial Peace in a life group of single moms. I have a little testimony real quick. I'll make it short. A group of 12 single moms who couldn't figure out how to save $1,000 emergency fund. I watched God do it with them. As soon as they stepped out, God met them there. One of them was a school teacher that ended up getting $1,000 bonus just because she stepped out on that limb and decided to do it. 6 out of the 12 moms, single moms, currently own their own homes. I watched God do it. I don't know if they ever got out of debt, but that was a different approach to it. My question is, I'm self-employed and I don't have a steady paycheck. My paychecks come in radical, like commission statement radical. Just curious if you, Tony, have worked with strange income like that.
Yeah, we would call it a regular income, but yes, yeah. There's definitely little tricks you can do with that. You can run averages for years or months and things like that. Also budgets that you can do for irregular incomes that'll help you to take care of your 4 walls first and then move past that to what's left over. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'll consider it.
Yeah, Millie, many years ago when I was first introduced to a financial coach, I had an irregular income. And I had just become a single mom after being married for 7 years. And it was quite scary. It was quite overwhelming. And one of the very first things I was introduced to, and Tony can take you even further than I can on this, is that it introduced me to covering my 4 walls. And so the very first thing we did is we learned how to budget my 4 walls, my food, my utilities, my car, and my housing. And everything else around that was subject to what the month was subject to. And so Tony could certainly teach you how to do that. But that for me was a game changer because I was paying on this and that, and then wondering how I was going to pay my mortgage. And so she taught me incredible tools and techniques. And so maybe that little nugget is helpful for you. And certainly Tony would be even more so.
Yes, 4
Thank
walls are really, really important.
Thank you.
Good. Now the budget spreadsheet, just so you know, not the budget spreadsheet, but the debt snowball spreadsheet that Tony just shared, at the conclusion of our time together today, I will email that out to everyone. So if you registered and signed up for this call, you will get an email with that in it. And then again, consider Tony as a great resource to using it, but we'll make that available to you. Well, I'm going to go ahead and end today's call. Tony, thank you for your time, your heart, your sincerity, your desire to see people walk free. The example that you and Shelley are living of walking this out yourself personally. Thank you, everybody. We're so glad that you were with us today. And we hope to connect with you, whether as a new client of the Coaching and Counseling Center or just somewhere here in the near future. So God bless you. Have a great Saturday.
Thank you all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed watching today's workshop. If you are ready to take that first step towards financial freedom, Tony is ready to climb the ladder right along with you. To schedule a free consultation with him, simply go to our website at myarisecoach.com and click the blue Getting Started button in the upper right-hand corner. Also, if you'd like to stay in the know about new content being released here on this channel, make sure you subscribe and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks again for watching.